Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete for Anxiety here, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about again. Welcome in today's episode. Before we get started today, we need to cover a few things really quick. Let's talk about the Pete for Anxiety Patreon first off. It's only $1, guys. $1. What does $1 get you? $1 gets you into the exclusive episodes I am recording currently. I'm actually focusing on certain different diagnoses of things to show you guys what it actually looks like as it manifests in a person. So why not for $1, judges? Yeah, they said $1. I just checked with them too. See, they said it was okay. It was $1 anyways. Let's also talk about the Oracle Talk Radio Networks app. In case you can't be here live listening to me, watching this video, supporting the show, you can listen to it on the radio app. Why not? It connects us live to our 365 radio. Just go to your app stores and download the Oracle Talk Radio Network. You'll see the big old Oracle Talk Radio Network app logo right on there. Download it and it'll connect you to me, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, to Pete for Anxiety when I'm live doing my thing right here, informing the world and raising mental health awareness. So where are you going to be? 10 a.m. Of course. Come on. We just talked about this. Pay attention for once. Damn. Do y'all know how to listen? And as always, guys, like, follow, and share the YouTube channel. If you guys like what you're seeing, leave some comments, man. We want to know. I want to know if you like what you're on. You want to be on the show? Let me know. Hit me up at PeteVersusAnxietyPod@gmail.com. And as always, guys, enjoy the show. And by the way, did I mention to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure because some of y'all are hard of hearing in the back, may have to yell loud or get a megaphone or something. But, anyways, let's get today's show started. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy. Guys, welcome into another exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. My guest today is in the back, but we're going to go ahead and play a quick ad read from my friends from oldglory.com. Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete vs. Anxiety here. I just want to take a moment to talk to you about my friends at oldglory.com. What is oldglory.com, you ask? Oldglory.com is a collection of 300,000 officially licensed merchandise. We're talking everything from sports, entertainment, pop culture, all that stuff you can think. Dude, there's even more stuff on there that I can't even list for you that you need to go check out for yourself. But you know what? Here's the best part about it. I went and haggled for you. That's right. I didn't get you just 5% off. I didn't get you just 10% off. If you use my code Pete vs. Anxiety at checkout, you get 15% off all your orders. That's right. 15% off all your orders. Because I'm such a stand-up guy, I fought for him. I said, guys, I don't want 10. I want 15 for these guys. The best thing about it is they offer free shipping. Guys, you can't beat free shipping on your orders. And they do same-day shipping, too. What more do you need, guys? Take your asses over there quick. Hurry up. Run over there. Remember, use my code Pete vs. Anxiety at checkout to get 15% off your whole order. That's oldglory.com. Remember that. oldglory.com. And, guys, you can thank me later. All right? Guys, welcome my guest today, the energy alchemist herself. Melanie, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Pete?
Doing good. It's been a crazy day, but you're here now. That's all that matters.
That is all that matters.
So you want to go ahead and give everybody a little taste of what you're about?
Okay. So I know you had said when we were talking before this that you weren't too sure what energy alchemy was.
I know you laid on me.
And you know what? Most people probably don't. It's not even a technical term. It's just something that I feel it really explains how I help people. So traditional alchemy is the process of turning lead into gold. Something that is heavy and doesn't have a lot of value into something that is really valuable and people want more of in their lives. And so I'm an energy healer. I am a life coach. I work on a whole bunch of different modalities and levels to help people bring what is heavy in their lives into something that is really valuable and sparkly and amazing. So that's how I came up with that term to put it together.
That sounds so great. You're like, I made it sparkly and everything else.
Ooh. Everyone is now cured.
She's like, I got it. Don't worry, guys. It's okay. So what kind of work do you do though? Like with it? I mean, I know you do spiritual healing and things like that. I'm into the energy thing. I get that because I tend to have this like thing where I can read people's energy. Like if I get close enough to somebody, you can kind of feel like, that they're giving off a vibe that I don't like. And that usually means that, stay away from them. But if they're a different vibe, it's like, okay, I like their vibe. All right. I like your vibe, and that's what I tell people a lot of times because I'm reading and I'm feeling it. And you're like, you could just tell by what certain people say and things like that. It's just like, you need to stay away or, okay, you can come closer. You're good, kind of thing.
And the thing is that everyone has that ability. Terms like empath or psychic or intuitive gets thrown around a lot and people kind of label themselves as that. if they feel they have this special, quote unquote, special ability. But every single human on this planet is born with that intuition, with that ability to feel and read energy. It's just that as we grow up, the way that society kind of molds us, we are taught not to trust it. We're told that it isn't real. We are often, denied our realities. And I think that that leads us to a place where we just stop believing in it. And
Yeah.
part of the work that I do with people is teaching them how to open back up to that beautiful spiritual connection that we all innately have. I work a lot on trauma healing. Anxiety is a huge part of that. And the final thing that I help people with is radical self-acceptance. Just accepting where you are, who you are. You're not too much. You're not weird. Well, you may be weird, but that's a good thing in my book.
Exactly.
And just, again, creating a life where you feel so excited to show up to every day.
Yeah. I get that. I
Yeah.
like being weird, so it's okay. I can feel that one. As soon as you said weird, I'm like, all right, we're at a good level here. So, but yeah, I always find it interesting because, like, when I meet new people, like I was telling you before we started recording, that it's like every time I see something new, I'm like, yeah, let me go figure out what that is now, because I would go in this rabbit hole of just looking into things, because I'm curious what everything is, and the more I do this show, the more episodes I do, and the more people I meet, it's the cooler things I get to learn about things, and what did we talked about earlier? We were talking about I had a psychic on. She was talking about, God, we had a weird connection and something. She said it. Her and I experienced the same thing on the same day, where we both were in an accident where the car spun in a circle, went across lanes of traffic. It didn't hit anybody, and I was like, "That's insane!" Like, that's the same exact thing I dealt with, you know. And it was crazy because it was just like, oh wow, we don't even know each other. We never met each other before today,
Yeah.
anything like that and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, she and I started having these weird occurrences and things like that. I was like, this is crazy.
Wow.
So what are you up to these days now with your energy healing and everything like that? Is it just, do you have a practice of your own or things like that?
Oh, I absolutely have a practice. I wouldn't even call it a practice. I live my life in a very spiritual manner. So I approach everything from breakfast to working out to having conversations to, cleaning the kitchen from a place of spirituality and connection. And everything, in my opinion, is a beautiful gift to us. And if we can be present in that moment, the smallest tasks can be the most beautiful spiritual experiences or healing opportunities, right? So I absolutely live and breathe this stuff. I also do it as my job. I've been doing this professionally for about 13 years now. I do one-on-one clients and I have a group program as well.
Okay, so when you do one-on-one clients, what is a session like? Just to give people a little feel for what it is. For
Yeah.
anybody that's wondering what they'd be getting themselves into, if they're curious.
So it is difficult to explain.
Yeah.
The reason being that I have
Is it very situational, would you say?
Yes, absolutely. I have more than a dozen different modalities that I use that I can choose from and use. But how that happens, what the session looks like, where we go to is entirely dependent on the person sitting in front of me, because I'm not an expert on you. I'm not an expert on whoever decides to book a session with me. I believe that we are the experts of ourselves. So it starts with a conversation with the person. I call in their guides, their, spiritual guides. I will talk to their body, go deep into their tissues, into their organs. And so I get information from the person, from the spirit realm, and then from their physical body. And that's how I am guided, how I can best support that person on that particular day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a conversation. It's, doing mindset work. Sometimes it's going to past lives and clearing things that happened a long time ago. Sometimes it's trauma healing, dealing with something that happened, when you were a kid that you're still physically holding in your body.
Yeah.
Radically different, not only for each person, but each time, even if the same person comes back, we still don't know what's going to happen in a session.
Yeah, I feel a trauma thing because when I was 10, my mom abandoned me and I'm still trying to get over that whole thing. I think it's more of that me trying to forgive her and not get it forgiven back. You know what I'm saying? Or her to say anything back, because my mom is not exactly the most easy person to talk to. And when you talk to her about certain things, she just kind of like denies it. Oh, I never did that. I'm like, I was there. What do you mean?
Yeah.
You don't know what I'm talking about. And it was funny you say past lives too, because me and Jessica this morning we're talking about that. I had a medium on about 2 weeks ago, And she was talking about how, the phrase the old soul, everybody says, oh, you have an old soul. Well, that's technically correct because you were somebody in a past life and things like that. And she mentioned that birthmarks have some kind of some kind of significance to a past life you lived. Is that true at all?
It can be, absolutely. Is it always? I don't think so. I mean, I have
Okay.
birthmarks all over. We all do. But absolutely, I believe that can be true.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
just curious because we were talking about that. And when you said that, I was like, man, we just talked about this morning too. And we were
Well,
talking about the past life thing too. It was interesting because the medium told me that she had met a cop who said he had a fear of needles, but couldn't figure out what his problem was, why his needles. So she said when she dug deeper into it, she found out that in a past life, he was actually executed by lethal injection. I was like, dude, that is so interesting. What about me?
yeah, I see that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's often when we have something we're trying to overcome and we are doing all the work, we're showing up for ourselves, we're being consistent, and it's just not shifting. You know, those things, you just feel like you're banging your head.
Hmm.
Well, why is this not changing for me? And
Yeah.
often because there is a past life wounding, or there is a soul contract in place, or there's some energetic force that is literally keeping you from moving forward. And sometimes you just need to, have someone go and shift that for you. And then everything, all the beautiful hard work you've been doing, it starts to actually work for you.
Now, would you say people's diagnoses are tied to their past lives sometimes? And then what is a soul contract, really quick? Because I'm curious. I've heard that term before. I've just never really knew what it was.
Sure. So a soul contract is when we are in soul form before we incarnate into these human bodies. We will make a deal. Like, let's say you and I, we're up in
Yeah.
heaven, wherever you want to call it, the other side.
Yeah.
And we're deciding we're going to come down and be together. We're going to chat on a podcast in this lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So we will make an agreement. Okay, I want to support you. You want to support me. So we're going to get together on this podcast.
Yeah.
And then this is just a really basic example, right?
No,
So
I
then
get
we're
you.
born and we don't know each other, and it takes decades until we connect and we have this conversation. But that's something that was decided ahead of time. That's what a soul contract is. Now, normally the types of contracts that we want to look at more deeply would be ones like, let's say someone has a really big lesson that they want to work on around abuse.
Yeah.
So they may agree with, say, their mother, their father, whoever, that
Yeah.
you are going to abuse me when I come into human form because I want to learn to stand in my strength. I want to learn to speak clearly. I want to learn how to protect myself. Maybe I want to learn how to help others be safe, right? So you agree upon that before you come down. But then what happens is sometimes you can get stuck in it and not learn the lesson. And then, maybe you get away from an abusive parent, but then you get in an abusive relationship, or your
Okay. Yeah.
boss
All
is
right.
abusive to you. And so you keep running into the same experience in different relationships. And some situations like that, we might want to cancel that contract and give you a break.
Are you reading my mind right now? Because that is exactly what I dealt with as a kid. My mom was very abusive. She'll deny it to this day. She never did it. But there's times I remember she got physically violent with me. And then I went to a physically violent relationship with my ex, me and her. And she was very psychologically too. She played a lot. She liked to manipulate a lot of people. She liked to gaslight me a lot of times. And then she turned physically abusive. And it's like, as soon as you said that, I'm like, whoa, is she reading my mind? Because that's exactly what I've dealt with so far.
Yeah. I'm not reading your mind, just to be clear. That's not how my gifts
No,
work.
no, I get you. No, I get you. But I'm just like,
But
how strangely curious, how coincidental that is that you're describing the exact situation I've dealt with this whole time. That's insane.
well, the reason why is that when I connect with someone,
Hmm.
we exchange energy. And I'm
Makes
really
sense.
good at reading energy. So I'm not reading your thoughts, but the thoughts that I can express to help you
Yeah.
are going to be dropped into my head.
Oh, well,
Does that make
it's
sense?
working. Let me tell you, I'm a believer at this point because that was crazy to me. Because it's funny because those are some things I've already dealt with before, and I'm just like, damn, is she just like reading my thoughts at this point?
Maybe a little bit.
just
But
just a slight bit, Pete. I'm reading your energy. It's coming off pretty strong there, buddy. Are these the things you want to talk about?
one thing I would like to touch on, you actually mentioned regarding your mother a little bit
Yeah.
earlier, was learning how to forgive
Yeah.
in the absence of an apology.
Yeah.
And I too grew up in a very unstable household, alcoholic father. Again, lots of things denied that I remember, and
Yeah.
I'm told that they didn't. So I not the same situation exactly, but I can relate to that on some
Yeah.
level. And what I have found that is so powerful, and this is for anyone who is struggling with forgiveness, we are often told that we need to forgive in order to truly heal, in order to move forward. And I don't think that's true at all. Basically, because of what you said, when you forgive someone, it doesn't necessarily change the relationship. It doesn't change you, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like a decision. Okay, I'm just going to decide to forgive so I can move on. And what I've found that can be so much more helpful in healing is to just accept what happened. You don't have to forgive it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. It doesn't have to be okay. But just, my mother did this to me. And that's just the facts. And if we can just accept what is without needing to change, to fix, or to forgive, that actually releases that heavy energy that we have been carrying along for so many years.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I know my therapist, she said to write down like in a letter, then what I want to say to her and then light it
Mhm.
on fire and then it'll be
Yes.
gone.
I'm a
So
big,
I was like, okay. It
yep.
sounded weird to me because I was just like, like at this point, I know I'm not going to get an apology of any sort. I'll just get complete denial of it. And to save myself the, wanting that whole scenario to even happen and just pretty much accept the fact that it's already been done with, it's already happened, nothing I can do about it. I can just move forward with my life and just kind
Exactly.
of, let go of the past, which I've had hard times doing because I hold grudges really bad and I'm working on that too. It's just one of those things of self-discovery I'm finding out as I go. And it's just hard for me. But at the same time, I'm starting to realize that it just just like you said, you're just not going to get an apology. You might as well just let it go because at this point it's already happened. Nothing else I can do about it.
Exactly. And did you want me to explain why the burning up of the letter actually works on an energetic level?
Yeah, go ahead, please
It's
do.
a powerful practice. I recommend this to my clients all the time. So, when we have an experience that is traumatic or that is just uncomfortable or hurts our feelings, we hold that energy in our bodies. And then how it gets released is we cry, we scream, we yell, we express emotion.
Yeah,
But so many of us who have been in situations of a power imbalance, an abusive situation, somewhere we didn't feel totally safe to be ourselves, we can't express that. So what happens is that energy gets stored within the body. And much like having a soul contract in place, having the energy stuck in the body can help you from moving on into bigger and better things in your future. So when you take the act of putting paper or pen to paper and writing it out, you are allowing an outlet for that energy. So that energy is leaving your body and it's going into the paper. Then when
yeah,
you light the paper, you are releasing that energy into the ethers so that it's no longer being held by you anymore.
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, like I said, I haven't finished doing it yet, but I'm in the process of doing it, and I feel so much better every day. I write more about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the better I feel. So maybe that's what I'm feeling is that energy transfer
Yes.
from me to the pen to the paper as I
Yeah.
go and I start preparing to, finally release it all and everything like that. Which it makes sense though, if I think about it from the aspect of like I feel so much better every time I talk about it too, and I let people know it's happened. I've been there at
Yeah.
this point. I can't change it. It's just who I am now. It's a part of me now, and it's not going to change anything I do going forward. I'm not going to let it control me any further. So
I found that one of the most powerful healers is to simply be witnessed, right? Just to have someone hear your story, someone to believe you,
yeah.
right? And if we have a friend or a therapist or a healer, a coach, like whoever, if we have someone that can do that for us, that's amazing. But not all of us have that, or not all of us can afford that, right?
Yeah.
And so you can let the paper be your witness.
That's very true. That is true. The problem with, I think, today's healthcare system is there's not enough resources for mental health for people. And that's why I love having people like yourself on because, different people can find there's different things that they connect with. Like, so they like energy or they're spiritual or they're holistic, things like that. We can give them an outlet to know where to find you guys at. That way they can reach out to you directly and say, hey, Melanie, I need some help. I saw you on that podcast. I want to know if you can help me kind of thing. And that's the great thing about this is I love the fact I get to meet new people. I'm networking with new people. I learn new things every day, and it's great. I love it. I tend to find out new things and new rabbit holes to go down and things like that to check out because I'm always curious of things. And it's just the greatest thing about this thing. I love it so much.
And I'm on the same page with you. The curiosity and the rabbit holes the more that we can show up to our lives curious about, why is this way? How could this be different? What was my role? How could I change things? It takes you out of the victim mentality of everything's happening to me, everything sucks, into, well, what could I do to change this?
Exactly.
And like you go down a rabbit hole, and sometimes like, whoa, that was a waste of a couple hours of my time. Oh, well, the next time you might find yourself in front of a person or a concept or a modality that is the one thing that you need to change everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
you don't know if you don't go down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I've been down a couple of those rabbit holes. We won't talk about some of them, but they're very interesting rabbit holes.
I'll talk about anything, just so you know.
I went down a furry rabbit hole at one point. Okay. So this is just because I was curious. I didn't know anything about this. Someone had mentioned the term to me, and I was just so fascinated the level of detail these people put into these costumes. I'm like, well, wow. Like, damn, this is really crazy, because like they put so much energy into doing these things, and what they do is so great. I just sit there. I'm like, I'm so fascinated for a while. I was like, I sat there for like 3 hours looking at these videos, and one person is explaining everything to you in one video. And I'm like, yeah, everybody else thought it was weird, but me, I didn't think it was weird, because I'm like, this is just very fascinating to me. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just curious what this is. I've heard this before. I've never seen it before. So let's go check it out. And lo and behold, Pete gets to the internet and starts going down the rabbit hole and starts looking at these weird things.
But even as you're explaining that, you were showing up to the furry community from a place of non-judgment.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's another thing with healing anxiety, right? Healing anything really, is we judge that our experience was wrong. We judge that we should not have anxiety. We judge that we should be doing it better. And anytime we bring judgment, that's an energy, right? Anytime we bring the energy of judgment into any experience, it blocks us. It makes things heavier, and it erodes our self-esteem.
Yeah.
I love that you are willing to go to these places just from a place of neutrality.
Yeah, I try to stay neutral on a lot of things. I'm like I said, if I get generally curious, I'll go check out things. I'll look into stuff, and I get more fascinated by the new things I learned, and things like that. And I learned a lot about the energy stuff from my wife, and she was telling me all about the different stones and what the different properties of the stones were and things like that. And I didn't know anything about this stuff. I'm like, okay, to me, they just like stones. But now she opened my eye to, oh, well, it's actually more to it than you realize. Each one has its own energy properties. Yeah. And I was like, man, okay, cool. This is so cool. And then she said that she gave me a tiger's eye. And I held on to that thing and I do it with a lot of things too. I kind of put a lot of energy into things that people give me. If people give me different gifts and things like that, I hold on to a lot of this stuff because I take it personal. And I'm like, hell yeah, this person took this time to find this for me. And I basically take it everywhere I go. Because if not, I feel weird sometimes, depending on what it is, and things like that. And I feel disconnected when it's not with me. And I'm like, I don't feel right. But when it's back with me, then I feel great again, because I feel that energy coming from it, because that person had given me this item and gave me a piece of themselves with it, basically. And it's really great. Am I not understanding that correctly as I'm doing this?
Yeah. I mean, crystals actually are a great thing to use for anxiety, right? And I actually have crystals in my bra right now. Yeah. I plopped in ones before our conversation. But for anxiety,
wait, hold up. What crystals do you have? And I'm just curious, what crystals do you have?
Okay. So I told you I'd go anywhere with you, right? So this is the one that I put in, and this is a blue lace agate.
Yeah.
And this one, it opens up your throat chakra, which helps communication.
Yeah.
So when I'm going to be having a conversation with someone, I drop it in my bra, and I just feel like I can speak more freely.
I'm not laughing at the fact you did. I just think it's funny. It's just like, well, I've got a stone in here, and I'm like, wait, what stone do you got in there?
That's the one I currently have in there. But for anxiety specifically, for anyone who would like recommendations, my favorite is selenite, and I have one of those actually right here.
Oh, okay.
So selenite is a clearing crystal. So when you have that stored survival stress, that when your nervous system gets activated, you've got too much energy in there, it can help to release some of that, to pull it out. Any crystal that's dark, it's like a hematite. Oh my goodness, what else? Anything?
Amethyst, right? Amethyst is purple. I'm not thinking
amethyst
right.
Purple. I have an amethyst here too. But any dark crystals, hematite's the only one that's coming to mind right now, but there's tons of them.
Yeah.
They're very grounding. So they work with the root chakra. They help make you feel safe, make you feel secure. So popping one of those in your pocket, in your purse. I like them in the bra, but carrying those with you, it's just like you explain, you feel a little calmer, a little better with it.
Well, I feel grounded though because the tiger's eye is kind of dark though too.
It is.
It's
And
like
then
an
with the gold
orangish
through it.
black kind of color to it, depending on which one you get. But yeah, that would make sense though when you said that because I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, obsidian. That's the other one I was trying
There
to
you
think.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool though. I said, I didn't know anything about him until she started telling me about him, and I learned about tarot cards because of her too. Well, let me tell you now, tarot cards. Wow, I have to say,
Yeah.
like when it is a very interesting experience when I had one done before it because it was so close to what I was thinking at the moment that
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell anybody else. I can tell you right now, anybody that thinks it's weird, it's fake, you are completely wrong. You, sir, have been wronged, or they have done it right for you because it is the craziest thing I've ever done. And I was instantly a believer because I was like, there's no way, because this thing literally hit on everything. And she didn't know anything. Mind
Mm-hmm.
you, she knew nothing about what I was thinking. And I was like, man, then it got me thinking, like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, damn, I should tell her. So I went and told her about the situation, and it fell right into where the cards were at. And it was the craziest thing ever because I didn't know anything about tarot cards. I know I've seen them before. I know what they were. I just didn't know like how it all worked and everything that. And my now wife was the one that actually did the reading for me. She had like told me the differences between them and how the face and how the card lands that makes different sense, and I
Yeah.
was so fascinated by that because I was like, damn. And then I got big into astrology as well. And I didn't realize your star sign aligned with so much different things about your personality traits because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them for me, because I'm Cancer, so mine lines up real well with what it is. I don't, and stuff like that. And I was so fascinated about it because I was like, man, what are the other star signs? Like hers is Scorpio. So like I'm noticing these things, and she'll send me some of these videos sometimes. I'm watching them, and it's so fascinating to see because I don't think people realize how many of those things actually line up with your personality. Now, if you look at it side by side, you'll realize that most of those link up, and it's 100% true because and I don't think people realize that astrology goes that deep. So most people just see this. Oh, okay, what's your star sign? Cancer. Why? Well, you're asking the wrong question right there. You want to know what their star sign is to see if you're compatible or not, depending on that whole, compatibility thing. I mean, but you
Yeah.
want to know what traits that person's going to have and just see if they'll accept them or they'll show them and you can see it because it's crazy when they line up like that because you're just like, whoa, okay, this is interesting now.
Well, astrology's been around longer than science, than
God, yeah.
religion, than
It's
anything,
been
right?
around forever. Yeah.
Is the original science and religion. And so I find it, I guess, humorous, interesting, maybe is a kinder word to use, that people disregard it so quickly because they don't understand it. It's been around forever.
You said the key word there. They don't understand it. That's the
Yeah.
same thing. It applies to mental health too. Think about it. The people don't know about this stuff, so they dismiss it or they pass judgment and say, "Oh, well, that person's crazy." Do you think they're really crazy? Probably not as crazy as you think they could be. Just because you hear the word schizophrenia or now these other things doesn't instantly make them what you've seen on a movie or a TV show. It's nothing like that.
Well, the thing with mental illness is that it is a natural and healthy response to a situation that
Hmm.
person's in. It's not maladaptive. It's not you being broken. It is
Yeah.
literally the brain and the body working together to keep you safe in the best way that it possibly can. And because we don't understand that, because we don't understand that trauma often leads to mental illness. And when we do have a more complex diagnosis like bipolar or like schizophrenia, there are so many other things at play.
Hmm.
None of it is the person's fault.
Exactly.
Show up to supporting people with any type of challenge in their life, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, right? With respect and with kindness. And again, that curiosity. It is incredible how quickly people can heal
Hmm.
from even diagnoses that are supposedly lifelong
Yeah,
deals.
like BPD is an interesting one too. Like, like, it's actually because of trauma is a lot of times how those develop those symptoms and things like that. And I didn't know anything about it until I started learning more. I had a coworker that had it, and that's what led me down to looking at more. But some of those people, some days it's like, wow, man, it's like Wheel of Fortune time for your emotions. Here we go. It spins the wheel and just you know what I mean? And that whole thing. And it's just that's how she said she experienced it. Now, I had another woman on the show. What's her name? Lucy Lenore. She was from the band Hunter. She has BPD as well, but she said for her situation was that she questions who she is every day. Now, I don't think that's the same thing for everybody. I think everybody experiences their own different kind of things. And it's
Mhm.
great when you meet new people that have the same thing, but they have different symptoms. So you can see that, hey, this is not what you think it looks like. Everybody experiences different things that happen with it. And a lot of them, the root base is usually trauma that's caused it, like some kind of childhood trauma thing that it caused them to basically have the issues that come with it. And it's crazy. Like, my hat's off to anybody that's BPD that makes it through a day some days, because like what I've been reading, holy crap, man. Like, you guys are the real soldiers. Like, everybody else is like, well, I have anxiety, I have depression. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting any of you that have anything other, but let me tell you, those guys right there, they're the soldiers of the group right there, because any given day, it could be a wild day for them.
Mhm. And I have never worked with a single person with mental illness where there has not been childhood trauma
Yeah.
involved. And the other thing that is almost always, not always, but almost always present is an entity attachment or a possession.
Yeah. 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 I kind of feel like, so what kind of entities would attach to somebody though?
Oh, I mean, entities are constantly
Like
looking.
a negative energy kind of thing, or
I mean, there's so many different hundreds of thousands of different types of entities in the
yeah.
world. And I don't believe that some are good and some are bad. I believe that some can be beneficial and some can be very
Yeah.
detrimental, right? But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe that
Definitely.
everything is neutral in and of itself. But what often happens is when, again, if we go back to the energy piece, we
Hmm.
are all vibrating at a specific frequency. And
Yeah.
when you've had trauma and you have self-doubt and life is just really shitty for you right now and you get stuck in that kind of negative loop, your vibration is very low. So we know from science, like attracts like, right? So when there is a lower vibrational person, lower vibrational entities are going to be attracted to that person.
Yeah.
And then they can attach to you because typically you don't have really firm energetic boundaries when you're in a bad place. And then that just makes everything worse and everything heavier. And again, harder to shift, even if you're showing up for therapy, even if you're taking your meds, even if you're doing all the, right things. And it is very common. Most people have had an entity attachment or possession at some point in their lives. They just don't know it. Like you said, with mental illness, it's not like it is in the movies, right? So
Exactly.
it's not what people think it is. I've had it for myself several times. My youngest was actually possessed for 4 years before we figured out what was going on. And when you can solidify your boundaries, clear out that energy, and remove the entities, like it can be an instant change. Everything is just different for people.
So they were possessed by what was it that possessed them though? Was it what was the entity's
For my daughter,
purpose? Yes, I was curious now.
so it's a demon.
Okay.
And her past life previous to this one was very, very bad.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
she came with some really big wounds and wanted to work on that in this lifetime and chose me as her mother to help her get through that. And it was a really tough 4 years, but
Oh, I believe it.
with lots of help, we figured it out. And literally the next morning, she was a different kid and she's been amazing ever since.
I'm so fascinated by possession just because I used to watch a lot of those Annabelle movies. I know the movie itself is not right,
But
but it's
that is
so
true. The Annabelle movies are based on
exactly.
true paranormal
So
experience.
so was what is that other one? The Amityville horror one. That
And
house is actually in Illinois.
the the ones with the clapping hands on the stairs. I'm sure the Conjurings, those
Hmm.
are true stories. The Exorcist actually is true.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, all those are real. That's what I'm saying. All these people that question these things, I'm like, I don't know what y'all are questioning, dude. You all need to do some research because there is some crazy stuff that goes on that you can't explain. Like, you explained it to me that that's not real when these things are actually happening. And I can't remember what it was. There's some show I was watching that actually did a really good highlight of it. Was talking about somebody got possessed. It was
Yeah.
similar to the incident in the basement with the Warners when they were there, when the chair lifted up off the ground, everything
Mhm.
like that. That was the same thing they said. They said something was trying to come through, and it was just crazy to hear what it was going on. But at the same time, I'm just so fascinated because I'm like, dude, this is so nuts. I'm like, but this is so true at the same time, because I looked into the Annabelle thing, and I was curious because it was a Raggedy Ann doll and everything like that, and it wasn't like the doll in the movie, obviously, because we adapted it differently. But you know,
It
The
was a
Exorcist
creepy
was just
doll in that movie.
that doll was fucking creepy. I'm not gonna lie, that thing gave me fucking horrors. I'm gonna tell you, the first time I watched it, the doll that's sitting across the room was one of those like knockoff American Girl dolls. I
Yeah.
literally got up and moved it away from me because I was staring at it the whole time across the room. I felt like it was looking at me, and it was weird because I've had weird incidents when I was younger, though. You know, maybe makes sense to you. I get up in the middle of the night and it was just me in the house. I thought I hear people talking to me and there was nobody there. I get up and I feel like somebody's watching me. Like I get this sense of like, you know, just like someone's eyes are closing in on me, and I just freak out and just run to wherever I'm going, to the next room or something. And
Yep.
normally I have no problem just walking through the house or whatever, doing anything else. But all of a sudden, this weird energy feeling of like somebody's just closing in, and my heart starts racing for no reason. Like there's nothing going on, mind you, you know. In my head, it's like I feel like somebody's just closing their grip in on me. But then when I take off running, they lose that grip on me. And it was just really weird to me. And I've always had that weird sense of like energy with people. Like I could sense certain energies on people, you
Mhm.
know, and like I said, I call them vibes just because people seem to
Yeah.
get like those a lot better than saying energy, but you could feel the different vibes coming out of people.
Yeah.
But it
So
was so crazy though.
so what that is when we are born, we are still connected to the other side. So our
Yeah.
intuition, our psychic abilities, all of that is
Hmm.
wide open. And we have that remain open until around age 7 or 8. And then, unless it is encouraged and supported, we will shut that down.
Yeah.
So when little kids talk about the monster in their closet, there is a being in the closet.
Yeah. See, I
When
wondered that always.
under the bed, there is something under the bed. When they say grandma came and, sat on my bed with me last night and grandma's been dead 10 years. No, grandma really did do that.
Yeah.
But what happens is that the adults, well-meaning, well-intentioned adults, oh, that isn't real. Oh, you're imagining that. That isn't true. And denying our actual reality. That's what creates the fear. Whereas if, mom came in and said, oh, you felt there was someone chasing you, let's figure out who it is. And then, help you and empower you. Because to be honest, there's nothing to fear, not even a demon, not even a possession. There's nothing to fear. No energy in this universe can harm you unless you are willing to bring it in.
Yeah.
If you are strong in your boundaries and you know your worth and you know your strength, you are safe. And if we could just teach kids that from the beginning, there wouldn't be that fear. And then they could explore it and imagine the worlds that we could discover if we remained open to all of this.
Yeah, you know, and it was always weird because, like I said, I just kind of felt it. It just felt like something was closing in on me. And someone
Mhm.
I always had people always tell me when I was younger, though, they're like, "Oh, there's something. Are you okay?" Like they kept asking if I'm okay, but I was
Mhm.
okay. But for some reason, they just kept saying, "Hey, are you okay? You seem like there's something wrong." And I can never put my finger on what it is, you know. And I'm just like, "No, I'm fine. What do you mean?" And they're like, "Oh yeah,
Okay.
there's something weird about you. Like there's something you're not telling us," is what someone had told me. And I'd
Yeah.
never heard him say it after that. So I don't know if that was somebody speaking to me like, "Hey, wake up, you need help or something." But it's always, I can never explain it. I've never told anybody about it. And you're the first person I've ever told that that's happened
Oh,
to,
thank you.
because like I don't think people understand what I'm talking about. They sound like I'm crazy. Literally to everybody else, it sounds like I'm completely nuts. To you, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like you have some kind of idea of what is feeling, because it was like it felt like I was the prey and the predator was coming in at me. And I don't know what it was. All of a sudden, it was just like I felt like that grip, like coming in, like somebody's grabbing onto me, and I just took off. And I freak out all of a sudden. I just start looking around, like I start getting paranoid really quick. Like I'm looking around, like I felt it, but I could never explain what that energy was, you know, and things like that. And it was just like it was crazy because, you know, I could never know. I never knew what it was. So maybe it is tied to my past life, and I'm curious about that too because I want to see. I want to have somebody actually figure out what my past life was, because I had something earlier. She said that I was what is it, servant of gratitude, and then she said something about a castle. She felt like I was somebody that always came up with the ideas but never got credit for my ideas, and that's why I'm so vocal now. Versus, you know, I said that's weird you say that because when I was a kid, I always felt like I was never heard, like I
Mm,
was the middle child,
yeah.
you know, and all that kind of stuff like that. And I felt like anytime I say something, I would always be overshadowed by someone else.
Yeah. Well, most people have hundreds of past lives. It's not just a
That's
matter
so
of
cool.
one or
That's
two.
so cool. Every time somebody says it to you, that's so cool. I don't know why that's so fascinating to me though. like I always wanted to know what my past life is, because I'm always just curious to know things, because that just so fascinates me. And I had somebody 3 weeks ago had brought that topic up originally
Yeah.
about the whole cop thing, and she was a medium. And then the psychic lady this morning and I were talking about the same thing. And now we're talking about the same thing. I'm just like, dude, this is so fascinating. I'm so fascinated by this subject. I'm like, I want to know, like, how does someone find out what their past life was? Is there a certain path they take or something like that?
Well, there's lots of different ways that you can do it. And whatever way resonates with you is the one that you could try. But you can absolutely go to someone like me. And when you work with me, I keep you here in this plane.
Yeah.
I travel to the past life, and then I find you in the past life. And then you can have a conversation with yourself in the past life, learn the lessons, figure out what needs to be done. Then we clear your aura. We heal that energy out of your physical body. We remove any patterns in the brain that's connected to it. So it's a pretty big process the way that I do it.
Yeah.
You can do past life regression. You can even, going back to your practice of journaling, right? You can do what's called automatic writing. And that is where you don't logically think about what you're going to do, but you would just write, in my past life, and then just start writing and see what comes forward, and allow for your information to come through in the automatic
Oh
writing.
man, now I'm more interested than ever. You don't even know, Melanie. You just got me so excited.
Yeah,
I'm
like
I'm so curious.
your wife.
I'm
And
sorry.
with your wife, she does tarot, right?
Yeah.
So get her to pull some tarot cards around it. Like there are
Oh,
so many different ways. It is, if you've heard of the Akashic Records, have you heard of that term before?
no.
So the Akashic Records, it's just a term that basically it's explained like it's a library and every person has a book. So if you were
Yeah.
to get your book, it's your story of all your lifetimes, your
Oh,
purpose,
okay.
and
Okay.
why you're here, what's going to happen. So you can, connect with your Akashic Records. But the best way to start is to just be curious, to ask questions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. No, it is 100%. I'm telling y'all right now, I am so curious, because I'm like, I keep hearing it. It keeps being brought up. So now I want to know more about it, because I'm like, man, like, what was I in a past life? Like, after this morning, she said, I was the thinker, and, things like that. I come with these ideas and never get credit, but I'd always do all the basically all the groundwork, and someone to take my idea and run with it. I'm like, I kind of felt like that though a little bit. If you really think about it, as I've been thinking about this all day in the back of my mind, I was just like, yeah, I've come with all these great ideas and I never did anything about it until I just said, fuck it. One day I just went, all right, forget it. I'm starting a podcast. And
Yeah.
I did my first podcast. And then after the first year, it was like, yeah, it was fun, but it got out of hand quick. So I'm like, all right, well, it's time to take a reset here and let's try. Then I came up with this idea. And when I presented this idea, doors just started opening. Like I have a network deal now, so I'm with the network Oracle Talk Radio Network. I basically get to run a free show every week. I get to basically get heard around the world, everywhere as far as Australia that I know of right now. I've
Amazing.
all heard these episodes and seen these things and everything else, and it's just nothing but great things have been happening ever since then. And little by little, it just keeps getting more interesting.
So even just from her explaining the connection to the past life may have been all the healing that you need. Well, clearly it was all the healing you needed to move past it because
Yeah.
you've broken through that barrier.
Yeah, I was just curious though, because I was like, that's interesting, because she just all of a sudden just started talking about something, and she's like, I'm seeing something with a castle. I'm like, ooh, a castle. Okay, all right. And I was just so fascinated, because it's just like, it's so interesting, because she doesn't know anything about it. We and her just met today, like maybe an hour before we started recording. I had needed a guest to fill in, and I was like, man, I just randomly found, and then all of a sudden, me and her just started having a conversation, and then, she came on and she started mentioning these things, and it was just like, whoa, okay, this is interesting, because the same term got brought up again, past lives and these things like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting, getting me more curious now, because I'm like, wait, what else can I find out? So we may have to explore that avenue, though. We may have to do a session here and see what happens and come back with the results and let people know what happened.
Yeah, it's definitely an unlimited journey if you want to start traveling down there.
Yeah.
And most people have hundreds, at least the people that are attracted to working with me typically have hundreds of past lives. And then there will be multiple past lives in a hook. So around one theme, like again, let's say you're trying to stand up and take credit for your stuff, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you didn't learn it in this lifetime. So then you come back and you don't learn it this time. And you can have like 17 lives connected to that same hook of needing to really take credit for your work. But when you go and you find the original past life and clear that, the rest of them all dissolve. It's really cool.
That's pretty interesting, though. Would you say a lot of mental diagnoses are tied to the past lives, though? Like some of the negative.
I wouldn't say specifically diagnoses are attached to past lives, but every single time it is attached to energy.
Yeah.
Like I to be honest, I don't believe that someone has anxiety or has depression or has bipolar as a label.
Yeah.
That person is experiencing a group of symptoms that others have chosen to label as that.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, everyone's experience is radically different, even under that same diagnosis. So the way that each person needs to be supported in healing and shifting that is going to be different.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
Someone, it may be past life work is really essential, but for some people, it doesn't come into play at all.
Yeah.
Does
I get that. It makes sense, though, because the way I'm thinking of it as is like just like you apply it to therapy. Therapy's not for everybody. Some things also work for someone else,
Exactly.
and it's the same principle is that, some things work for other people and other things work for other people, and you can apply that to anything really nowadays. You think about it, some people like certain things, other people don't like these things. And, it makes sense to me. It really does.
And I think a really big challenge that faces a lot of people, especially now in the age of social media and information is readily available, and not only readily available, but thrown at you, right? And the ads in your feed and all that kind of stuff, that we are shown cases of, well, I did this and this worked for me. And then people think, oh, well, I have to do that. But there could be like 200 different ads for 200 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all beautiful. I'm not saying that they aren't good things, but nobody needs 200 different modalities to heal, right? And so
Sure, though, it's not the QVC of situational things. Come on now.
So it's really important that we tune into what resonates with us, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, like you feel when you meet someone, oh, is this someone I want to hang out with, or is this not someone I want to hang out with? We will have that same ability with working with certain people, certain courses, certain books, certain therapies. And when you feel really curious and you feel drawn to that, then that's a good indication that that's something that may very well work for you.
Yeah.
Don't explore everything. You're wasting your time, your money, your energy. Just follow what feels really resonant and good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that completely. And, I feel that same way about doing this is like, I just went with it. I'm like, it feels right. This topic all of a sudden came to me, mental health. I'm like, why not? Let's go for it.
It's so needed to be talking about mental health in non-judgmental, loving ways like you are.
Exactly. And, I think a lot of people like to say, oh, we are talking about it, but I don't think we're talking about it enough. Okay. We may be having conversations, but where are those conversations at? They're hard to find these days. And I hate the internet for the clickbait video stuff, and people just post these videos up and they're all excited, get everybody excited that, hey, somebody's talking about this. And then a month later, it's like, oh, well, the conversation ended for this one. We're going to move on to the next topic. It's like, it doesn't end there, though, unfortunately. It's still there for people.
And what I also dislike about how mental illness is talked about for the most part is it's, again, getting a label.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to diagnose you with this, which means you have to do A, B, C, and D. It's all informational. It's giving information to the person. But what I would like to see more of is, what is the individual's experience? What do you feel you need? Does this resonate with you? Is this something that you can relate to? Rather than just slapping a label on someone and telling them they have to do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
That person knows better what they need than they realize. And we need to empower people to be able to help themselves.
Yeah, I agree completely. I feel like people need to trust their own instincts. Like if something doesn't seem lining up for you and they start telling you these things and they don't make sense, you don't have to accept what's being told to you. You can get a second opinion. That's the great thing about, therapists and everything else. There's 10,000 plus people out there in the world, over millions, that do different things. You can go get a second opinion. You don't have to take someone's. If you don't like what they say, go find somebody else, man, because somebody may actually link up with what you're feeling, versus what they're telling you you're feeling. That's different. You're telling me something versus what I'm feeling. It's like, yeah, these aren't lining up. So then that means that they obviously don't know what's going on and they're not even close to what's going on with you.
Nobody knows you better than you.
Exactly. And, a lot of times I think people self-doubt themselves too, because they listen to all these other people tell them things. And social media is really bad for that too, because everybody got that, everybody likes that roaring approval, and then all of a sudden it's like you got all those naysayers in there, and then they're the crazy ones because they're like, hey, but what if that doesn't match up to what's going on here?
Yeah.
And you're kind of like Galileo, you're telling everybody the sun doesn't, everything revolves around the sun versus everything revolves around us, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, stop it, guys, stop it. And then, Wikipedia is not real, by the way. I just like to say that now, everybody. Stop using Wikipedia. It's factual. It's factual. The worst thing ever. Like, I think I said the same thing. It's comical because, like, yes, it's really good for certain information, but please, for the love of God, please don't ever say Wikipedia to me and not expect me to look at you in a weird sense of light. Be like, what? No, you didn't say Wikipedia. No.
Though, I would say that the same thing is true for all media.
True. Very true. Very true.
Whether it's CNN, whether it's your friend's blog, everything is opinion. That's all it is. And even if we look at science, right? Science is literally the act of creating a hypothesis, testing the theory, and seeing what your conclusions are.
Exactly.
And 100% of the time, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, it gets proven wrong. And then there's a new accepted truth. And then that gets proven wrong.
And then we go on a witch hunt too. Then we go, oh, we don't like this answer. So now we're going to go get him, kill the beast.
Exactly. So instead of putting your trust in any one source of information, put your trust in yourself.
Exactly.
Put your trust in that intuition, in that gut feeling, in that knowing, so that when you do read something from whatever place it comes from, if it really connects with you, then that's for you. Yeah. And if it doesn't matter if it's an expert or not, it's not for you, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay not to like something, guys. I think people forget that too many times, especially when it comes to videos. And oh God, I'm going to say this, but TikTok especially, some of these comments people make, I'm just like, oh, you scratch your head like, what? Did you really don't have to say anything? Just move on to the next video if it's not for you. I mean, the same applies to everything else. Just please, for the love of God, don't say anything.
I'm not on TikTok, but I could imagine.
Oh, you're not missing much.
No.
I'm on there, and some days I question why I'm even there. At times, it's just like, some of y'all make my head hurt. They say the wildest things, the craziest things. It's like, you can get that on Instagram or Facebook and things like it's all the same thing, basically. It's just a different way it's fed to you. Like, I've had some pretty weird videos the last few days I've been watching on Instagram, and I'm just wondering where they came from, involving Kermit the Frog. Yeah.
So what I have discovered, again, not on TikTok, but absolutely, I'm on a bunch of social media platforms.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw them on your guest sheet, by the way. I put them in the link them down below for everybody to get to you.
But I have found that it is my responsibility to curate my feed.
Yeah.
And when I like and unfollow and block and engage with what I love, and get rid of what I don't, I can go an hour, I try not to, but I could go an hour down my feed, and everything just makes me feel happy and hopeful and connected and amazing, because I have taken the time to decide this isn't for me and this is for me.
Yeah, exactly.
We can all do that. And that's good for your mental health. Don't follow accounts that make you feel bad. Don't read stories that trigger your anxiety. Don't engage with people who are asshats. Like, really choose where to focus your energy in ways that are going to support you in feeling better.
No, I agree with you. And then sometimes you can tell, like, a lot of these people that go live, there's some that are like so codependent on you being there that they're just like, oh, they're so mad because nobody shows up. It's like, there's a grass outside, right?
Thank goodness for that.
But my Instagram feed has just been weird the last few days. I'm like watching this and I'm like, it's Kermit the Frog, and I can't think of what this app is. It's like a video app, Amigo or something like that. And he shows up and he starts flashing a cucumber on the screen. And I'm like, what is going on today, man? What kind of weird shit am I watching today? Like, I keep scrolling through and it just keeps showing up. And I'm just like, what is going on? Can we stop watching these videos? It's like you're laughing. I'm laughing because I'm just like, oh my God, I start laughing. Every time I see him, I just start dying of laughter. I'm like, what is going on? And sometimes people don't realize subconsciously you just needed that laugh to feel better, and things like that. Because there's just some days it's just like, ugh.
I have rough days. There's days where it's rough for me just mentally. I'm just like all over the place. And some days my depression gets to me and I let it win sometimes, but there's other times I don't. And, and it's just every day I can't be on point always. And I don't tell people about the internal struggles I have sometimes just because I don't want people to start doing the whole, oh, well, I'm so sorry for you. Stop. I don't want to hear all that. I really don't want to hear all that. I know y'all mean well, but I absolutely cannot stand that. I just don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need the fake, you know what I mean? That fake energy people give you like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, you're not. And like, you want to tell them, no, they're not. But then you're the asshole for telling them, oh, well, you're so mean. No, I'm telling you the honest truth. I could read bullshit when I see it. I'm sorry. And
another reason why I don't want someone to feel sorry for me is because I'm good. Like, even if I'm having a rough mental health day, even if I'm, on the bathroom floor crying, like it's one of those fucking days, I'm okay. I've got this.
Right.
Exactly. Every single one of us, we are exactly where we need to be in order to get to where we want to go.
Yeah.
And the journey is going to have bumps in the road. It's going to have huge cracks that open up and swallow you some days. But that is part of the journey. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's nothing that needs to be fixed. And when someone comes to me and says, I'm having a shit day, or, I lost a loved one or whatever, I'm not sorry that you're there. I love you. I want to support you. How can I help? That sucks. I've been there. I get it. But I'm not sorry for you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that, like you said, it can be construed as a negative thing, like someone doesn't care or that they're an asshole. But it's just the reality. We all have those days, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We can gain strength and positivity and lessons from it.
Yeah, I agree. And and then what is it? We were talking about suicide earlier. The one girl had told me that she had suicidal thoughts and still has them, and she's like, just so y'all know, doesn't make me crazy.
No, not at all.
She was explaining how the whole situation worked, because I was telling her that I had a guest on this show by the name of Brian, and Brian had come on here and he had told us that the same thing. He just admitted to us right here live on this show, 30 minutes in. Hey Pete, this morning I had the gun in my hand, and I love Brian. He's great. He's got a vision for what he's doing, and he proved the point that regardless of how well things are going for you, these ideas sometimes manifest in people. But he really just told all of us, anybody that was watching this episode, they all freaked out as soon as they saw this. It was an oh shit moment of the year, and he basically said he was sitting at the edge of the bed before we had started recording that morning. Yeah. He said he had sat on the edge of the bed with a gun and had the thought of, ending his life. And I was just like, and I didn't react because I was just like, I just kept going to the conversation and things like that, because I had to play it cool, because I'm not trying to blow the situation up further. But everybody that had seen it was like, oh my God, is he okay? I'm like, yeah, he's okay. I've heard from him. Yeah, he's fine. And what Brian was saying is the same thing we were saying, is that, like, if you're going through something, you're not going to reach out to somebody because they don't want to hear all that. They don't, you know what I mean? And things like that. He was saying, it's like, 9 times out of 10, when you tell somebody to basically reach out to when you're feeling those thoughts and things like that, where they're not going to reach out because they already feel like they're a burden already. They don't want to burden you anymore with anything else they're dealing with and things like that. And I relate to that because I've had those situations where I felt like that before, and it's just like, it's hard to explain to people without them looking at you like you've gone and lost your mind. Oh, well, you tried. It's like, yeah, okay. These are things I deal with, but the reason I don't tell people about it is because they seem to shame you about it and say, hey, well, okay, well, I understand these things, but why do you feel like you needed to do that? You have all the, it's like, okay, that's great. I hear what you're saying, but fuck you basically, because I don't care. This is how I feel. I'm telling you this. And now for me to tell you these thoughts, it's a lot of trust. I trust you a lot. So understand, when I'm telling you something like this, shut up and listen. I don't care about your problems. I'm telling you about my problems. And I like to quote the quote Jim Ross, which is the wrestling promoter. He said when he lost his wife, he said that he had somebody come up to him and tell him about all these other problems. And he said, listen, no offense, but I don't give a fuck about your problems. I just lost my wife. I don't care. Sorry if I don't give a shit about any of your problems. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and it's just like, it's not to be rude to people. It's just like, understand that, in those situations, sometimes it's better to say nothing and just say, hey, if you need something, or call, check in on that person. You haven't heard from them in a little bit. You're a little worried. They seem a little standoffish. Check in with them. Call them. One phone call can change somebody's life, man. You never know, because that means that you show that you care, but at the same time, you're not smothering them.
So I have a slightly different perspective on that.
Oh,
When,
please do. I'd love to hear your opinions. I respect them.
so I did try to kill myself when
Yeah.
I was 12 years old. I have that experience.
Yeah.
Children have had suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
I have both sides experience of it. Um, I would say at least 75% of my clients have those thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think when we are brave enough to share where we are with someone else, it's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't want to hear it. It's that it triggers that wounding within themselves and they become overwhelmed and they don't know how to appropriately support you.
I didn't think of it from that aspect. I like that.
And so what the problem here is that it is so common and we're not talking about it. Most people, if you haven't tried it, you have thought about it, or you have at least gone to that place where maybe the world would be better without me in it.
Yeah.
We all go there at some point in time, and there's nothing shameful about it. There's nothing wrong about it. And if we
Absolutely
can have
not.
these conversations without judging, without pulling away in fear, we're going to feel like we're not alone. And then we're going to be able to reach out. And then people will get to that point, hopefully less frequently, right? When you know you're not going to be shamed for it. But I honestly think that people have the best intentions. It's just that it brings up wounding within themselves and they don't know how to support you.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is too. And like
Yeah.
I said, when Brian said that, I was like, man, I feel you, buddy. 100%
So
on that,
brave,
brother.
like so fucking brave.
It was for him to just come out and just start saying it all the way. He just felt so comfortable just to come out and start saying it. And I was like, dude, keep going. I'm like, I'm not stopping you. And he's like, oh, sorry, I went on a tangent. Oh, no, continue, please. I think you're opening a lot of eyes to what's going on here. And everybody that freaked out and was like, oh my God, is he okay? Yeah, he's good now because he got it off his chest. He felt like he was hurt. I sat here and listened to everything he had to say. I let him talk. I'm like, you go for it, buddy. Go for it, Santos. You go ahead and say whatever you need to say, brother. You go ahead. Go out on that tangent if you want to. And it was very informative too, because people could see what the thoughts were. And he had a lot of really good points as he was going. And I was just like, whoa. But at the same time, I didn't react to it because I was like, okay, I'm gonna play it cool. He's obviously feeling something. Let's let him go. And it was great because it had so much reaction because people had seen it and were like, oh, snap. I'm like, you're telling me, man.
Him, like we were talking about earlier, sometimes to heal, we just need someone to listen. That's what you gave for him. What's your whole audience gave for him?
Yeah, definitely. I was very happy to see a lot of responses and ask how he was doing and things like that. And I know means am I shaming Brian at all. Anybody that hears this conversation, yeah, I am very, very supportive of him. I keep in touch with him all the time, in fact. But it's so cool to hear that, he had felt comfortable enough to share that with everybody, even though this is a live show and people heard him say it. I don't think anybody really heard him when he was saying it live because the comments were just afterwards. Somebody went back and watched it. I had somebody go back and watch it. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and listen to it again. Let me know if I missed something. And he was like, oh no, he said it. He was talking about it. And he went back to it actually twice. He cycled back because he was so upset because his friend, unfortunately, had lost his life to suicide. And it, the same thing. His friend was thinking about, it was doing something with currency. He was changing the way we look at currency, kind of had a great idea of the way he was trying to centralize it all into one mainstream currency or something like that he was saying. But it was just so crazy to hear him just go for it. I was like, hey man, go for it. Like, that's how I feel in this. This is your safe space. This show right here, you could say whatever you like with inside this screen with us. It doesn't matter. If somebody in the comments starts judging you, they're instantly blocked. I'm kicking them out. I don't care because it's not. They're not you. They're not sitting here brave enough to come here and tell about their story of things that they're dealing with in the current thought process. But it was just like, and he's like, I think about it every week, and I'm just like, damn, dude, like wow. At the same time, thank you for telling us that all, because it had to feel like it felt like after he said it though, the conversation, he was just like felt a little more upbeat. I was like, man, he must have just really had to let that one go because he just shot off and then went straight back to the conversation. I'm just like, all right, buddy.
Two things I would love to say around that. First of all,
go ahead.
I'm so happy that Brian is still here.
Exactly. Me too.
So grateful for that. And I'm also grateful for him sharing his story. After that, he probably helped save numerous lives.
Oh, I think he did too.
And the other thing I want to say is thank you for creating such a safe space.
No. Well, you guys are welcome. This
safe spaces.
Without the guests on this show, it wouldn't be just anything, It's great. All the people I invite, such as yourself and everybody else that come on here, all bring fresh perspectives to things, and it's different to have different. It's great to have different voices join the conversation to talk about these things, because at least I'm talking to somebody that understands what I'm talking about, and I don't feel like I'm crazy at this point, and things like that. And it's great. I meet new people every week, and the different things we take away from all the conversations. I mentioned them all in my other conversations. Hey, I met this person named Melanie. Me and her were discussing this, and I mentioned my friend Stephanie Aycock all the time. And Stephanie has a film called Bloom, and she's trying to get it produced now, but she's getting the funding going. And basically, what it is, it's a piece of her story on the big screen. Her main characters basically goes through all these different things for mental health, but she does it from a different perspective with a little sense of humor in there too. Yeah. And I think the way it's going to come perceived is going to change the way we look at things completely. It's not so much information cramming. It's more like it's played out in a movie. Everybody loves a movie and things like that. And she loves it every time I mention it too, all the time. She's like, she always laughs and sends me, oh, way to go. You said, mention me again. I'm like, yeah, I mention her all the time, because it's so interesting, because, people like her, I would never met because of this show. I would never know this project even began, and anybody wants to go check it out. It's called thebloom.com. Or thebloomfilm.com is where the website is for her film. Everything's on there, all the information, all the different stuff. You can get to know her a little better. Her actual episode is actually, I did it last year with her. And ever since then, we've been connected. I'm actually a part of a nonprofit as well. Speaking of suicide, that it's called Podcasters for Prevention. Basically, that's what we're doing, is we're trying to raise awareness for suicide, because the creator, Richardo's brother, actually lost his life to suicide. And, he felt so empowered that he needed to do something. So he created this whole nonprofit, basically, to try and get more people out there to talk about these things. So there's like different speaking situations and things like that, and all these other different opportunities that are coming to try and get the word out, to let people know that, hey, this is something we all deal with, guys, but you're not alone. We all deal with problems. It's okay to talk to somebody. Someone will listen.
Absolutely. And don't stop sharing until you find the person that does listen and cares.
There you go. Melanie with the win on that one right there. I love it. All right, Melanie, as we get ready to wrap up today, did you want to plug anything in particular for anybody yet? Are you writing any books by chance?
I'm not going to go down the tangent of a book. I have a book up here. It's not out yet. And as far as anything in particular, no, I'm just here to have a conversation, to connect with like-souled individuals, and to, help raise the vibration of the planet where I can. If anyone wants to reach out to me, melaniehuestis.com is my website. Just reach out. We can have a chat. Start from there.
Definitely. And we'll stay in touch for sure. I got you on Instagram and everything else too. So I've
Thank
definitely.
You so much, Pete.
I thank you so much for coming, Melanie. I really appreciate it. This was a great conversation. I felt like I could just feel that this was going to be great right from the beginning. And it was. I was so excited to, just because I loved it. It was great. I really do. I really appreciate it. It's not much more I could say. I'm a man of many words, but right now I'm very speechless, because I'm very moved by how great this conversation went, in fact. All right. So, everybody, I'm going to wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. Melanie, once again, thank you so much for coming. Guys, go follow her, guys. Go check her out. Go hit her up. If you guys have any questions, like she said, just reach out and ask her. She'll answer you just like she answered me, and things like that. And Melanie, if you ever do write that book, come back and see me. Definitely. We'd love to discuss it some more. I would definitely discuss it with you. I would definitely even read it, because I'm kind of curious now, even more as I learn more about energy healing and things like that. I'm getting more interested to know more. So that thirst for knowledge is there.
I have it as well. You'll be the first on my list.
There you go. You heard it right there, guys. We'll be the first ones to get the first taste of the book, guys. Well, I'm Pete vs. Anxiety, saying, don't ask how your mental health is. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try that again, everybody. Sorry. Repeat. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety, signing off, saying, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental